Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats.
You know, love and revenge rarely mix, and, if you're within the sound of my voice, that must mean you're in the seats with once more. As always, my name is Dave Voigt, and I'm the host of this podcast, where we sit down with a wide-ranging variety of entertainment industry professionals. We pick their brain about current projects, state of the industry, how they got started, and so very much more, in a light and in a conversational fashion. And, if you like how we do things around here, I'm going to go out on a limb and assume that you do, because let's face it, you're listening right now. And if you are, subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. Give us a 5-star rating on your podcast provider of choice. We're available pretty much everywhere. Places like Apple, Amazon, Spotify, Google. Plus, you can archive. We archive every single one of our episodes over at our In the Seats YouTube channel. So if you can give us a like and subscribe there as well, we'd absolutely appreciate it. What else? Oh, yeah, we're on social media. The Facebook, the Twitter, the Instagram, the Letterboxd, the TikTok. Pretty much everywhere, much like your podcast providers like Spotify, Apple, Google, what have you. We're at In the Seats. Find us, like us, subscribe. It means the world. It really does. But finally, and most importantly, please pay us a visit over to In the Seats, intheseats.ca, for all the latest and greatest from the world of film, television, basically the moving image at large. Because guess what? When we love to watch something, talk about something, and write about something, we love it when you come by and read about something and listen about something. So please do us that kindness. Come on by and pay us a visit. On this episode, boys and girls, we are going way back into the vault for an interview we did a couple of years ago back at Fantasia, but it only just hit theaters now for a limited run and is going to be on video on demand this coming November 12th. The film is called Compulsus, and it's a darn good one because it's one of those movies that it's relatable, but it's just it breaks your heart, but you love it at the same time. It's a story of rage and empathy, and our lead, Wally, she patrols the streets at night, taking revenge on abusive hipster men who, on behalf of the survivors who can't, and things get physical, things get violent. But when she falls in love with the straight-laced and law-abiding Lou, things start to clash. It is a really fantastic revenge thriller. And it's not about the gratification of seeing the revenge. It's about the fact that these attacks against women are happening in the first place. And it's not something that's showing the violence. It's letting us imagine the violence. It's really creative and allows us and puts us into the headspace of these characters to see sort of the horrible headspace that they're in. I'm saying horrible a lot, but it's really a great movie. Because of that, we had the unique pleasure of sitting down and talking with writer-director Tara Thorne and star Lesley Smith about the origins of it all. And it's a good one. So, like I said, check your local theater listings. They may be touring around at various places. But also, it's going to be on video on demand on November 12th. But first, enjoy our talk with Tara and Lesley about Compulsus, because between you and me, it's a pretty darn good one.
All right. Well, obviously, just first off, thank you both for the time today. I appreciate this.
Thanks for watching the movie.
Now, Tara, I guess my first question is for you. Walk me through sort of the origin of it all on your end.
Oh, the origin of it all is rooted in 2013 when Seth MacFarlane hosted the Oscars and he sang a song called We Saw Your Boobs, which was about all of the very prestigious acting nominees and past winners who had done nude scenes. And it was my falling down moment. And I was like, I have had it with all of this. And that led into the Weinstein Me Too, and that led into Jian Ghomeshi here. It was just like, there was just like a few years where we were inundated with these deeply reported, legally vetted, awful stories about all the shit men in Hollywood had done. Like every week it felt like one was dropping. And so my exhaustion became anger. And then I happened to become unemployed and turned 40. There's so many cliches in this. I was unemployed on my 40th birthday thinking, what am I doing with my life now? I literally was on the phone with EI on the morning of my 40th birthday. I'd never spoken to EI in my life. And I was like, no, you have to change something. And the Atlantic Filmmakers Cooperative, where I am and where I now work, which I didn't then, they had this workshop called Writing Small. And it was intended to produce scripts specifically for the Talent to Watch program with Telefilm. So I did I'm a journalist. Deadlines are good for me. So I was like, I have this story. They're like, I don't know, it's pretty violent, but we went with it, and you know, we went through the whole town to watch rigmarole, and we got it. During the pandemic, we found out that we got it, and then we had to sit on it for a while. But yeah, it's actually, as movies go, it's like 2 years from start to screening, which is pretty.
Oh, that's pretty quick. No, yeah.
Noteworthy, yeah.
No, I mean, there's something about this film that really hit for me. I mean, one, it was the use of the poetry to sort of take us out of the narrative and sort of jar us into sort of the emotion of the moment. And B, it was not just the violence, but not seeing the violence and let us imagine the violence. Like, for you, how important were those two elements in sort of trying to hammer home the story that you wanted to tell?
Well, the violence part, yeah, like to your point, your mind can invent way worse things than you can ever see.
Exactly, yeah.
But it was also partially budgetary, because it was a talent to watch. 150 grand, 50,000 extra from the province of Nova Scotia. Thank you so much. But we, if you're doing a bunch of violent stuff, you need stunt people, you need makeup, you need multiple costume changes. Like, everything just adds up. So, the point of the violence is not the violence itself; it's that it's happening at all. It's sort of like, if women were as violent as men, what would happen? You don't need to see the act; you just need to know. And also, there's a bit of a suspension of disbelief where, like, someone who looks like Lesley could take out a bunch of random men. She has momentum and weapons. I think it's possible. And then the poetry was because she was a loner, essentially doing this by herself. There was sort of no way for her to express how she was feeling about everything. She wasn't talking to her friends about it. The girlfriend sort of trips over it. So it's sort of like, how does she express how she's feeling internally without, like, dorky exposition, or I don't know. So I was like, well, poetry, that's a direct address thing we can do. It's very specific. And I wanted her internal monologue to sound different from her external monologue, which is my voice. So I hired the poet laureate of Halifax, no big deal, whose name is Sue Goyette, who's a wonderful, wonderful poet, and did an incredible job with those 3 poems. I changed one word in one. That's it. Like, that's what she gave me. It's incredible.
No, I mean, Lesley, I guess that makes my next question for you. Like, walk me through sort of how you got involved and read the script, because, I mean, this character is such a tortured soul, but at the same time is not afraid to throw elbows at the same time. It's a unique blend.
Yeah, Wally was, I saw the breakdown for the film for each of the characters, and I sent in tapes for almost every character, because I was like, I just want to be a part of this. I just want to be in this film. But I'd really fallen in love with Wally. And then when I got the part and read the whole script, it was just so exciting to see all of the different aspects of her and the different things that I was going to get to do in the film, different types of fighting, from like the intimacy, the different friend, moments you have with her friends, and then also the poetry. I think one of the audition scenes for Wally was her first poem, and I just loved the idea of having someone with that inner world, and but who's brave enough to get on stage in a bar and show that to maybe a small group of people, but still people. But who also has this rage inside her that she starts making exterior, she starts attacking men in her community who are attacking women in her community.
I always feel bad whenever she says she sent in tapes for everyone, because I only watch Wally. I was like, she's in that pile, next. I don't care what else you did, doesn't matter.
It's all gone now.
I mean, to me, in watching it, this feels like such a really sort of interesting cry against apathy, but kind of like turned up to 11 kind of thing. And I mean, I'm curious on both your perspectives, because I mean, I'll admit I'm the white guy in this equation, so I mean, I have to sort of shift my perspective. Like, how important is it to sort of have this call to be like, we can't just throw up our hands and go, well, what are we going to do about it anymore? Like, those days are over.
I'm deferring to you because I end up talking a lot.
Okay, I was thinking about this recently when I read about the climate scientist who set himself on fire.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's an extreme action. And I don't want anyone to set themselves on fire. But then similarly, I don't want people to start being vigilantes and attacking people who've wronged people they know, but like, to me, those are extreme things, but it suggests to me that in the absence of action, people will start taking action of different sorts, unless collectively, societally, we can start taking action together on these topics.
Yeah, for me, it's a huge frustration because, you know, where a lot of the movie came from for me is realizing how many people I know that have been affected by sexual assault, which to me, unless outside of murder, is like the worst indignity that can happen to you, and it's so commonplace, and you would never know. Like this was like the horrifying factor for me. It's like I didn't know. I've had people disclose their sexual assault to me very recently, and I'm just like, I didn't know, and we're good friends. And it's sort of like you get to the point where you're just like, well, who's helping? Who's preventing this? Nobody. And you know, my best friend is a Crown prosecutor in Nova Scotia. I know for a fact there are good people in the legal system, but the legal system itself is the problem. So it's sort of like, you know, Wally says in the movie, she can't defeat the systems, but one guy at a time. That is what she can do. And I too am not advocating for vigilantes to rise up and go out and put yourself in danger. That's why we make a movie. And I've been handily calling it a fantasy because it really is. It's my fantasy that someone telefilm let me put on screen.
But I mean, that's the fascinating thing, because I mean, it accepts the vigilantism, but it doesn't necessarily glorify it.
That's nice to hear, because I'm a little bit worried about how it's going to be perceived and taken. I know everyone's not going to be behind it. That's okay.
No, but I mean, to me, I mean, if only as the white male in the room, I mean, for me, it really was about the frustration. It was about what I'm doing is wrong, but what I got to do something.
And I mean, some of the attacks are fully unprovoked.
Yeah.
Like some of them are planned. Some of them just happen.
Well, and I mean, and that's interesting from your perspective, Lesley, because I mean, obviously your character goes on this arc of, you know, wanting to enact revenge and wanting to sort of be this, you know, upholder of, you know, the rights for her friends and in the community, but then it goes too far. And I mean, for you sort of carrying this arc of someone who, you know, has perspective, but then kind of loses perspective at the same time, I've got to imagine is interesting work to put in.
Yes, it was probably the thing that I fixated on most when I was working on this. This was my first lead in a feature, and I feel extremely lucky that this was the project. But also I was inexperienced in terms of being on a set every single day, almost all day. Like, I think there were maybe 2 scenes I'm not in.
And one we cheated. Remember when we cheated a finger? Yeah.
Yes. So on the one hand, that's extremely exciting. I get to be on set every day. But of course, because film is done out of sequence, I really wanted that arc to be as clear and like all the blocks in order as possible, because it is like, obviously you always want your characters to go on a journey, but Wally's journey is such an arc. No,
and I mean, to me, it kind of ranks up there with like other revenge films that we've seen, where we see like sort of the everyday character get pushed just that brink too far, like almost like a Charles Bronson in the original Death Wish, that kind of thing. But I mean, you're laughing, Tara, but I mean, you're
muted.
There was a motorcycle outside my window. I thought it would be better for your audio. I'm laughing because it's just so funny to me to be compared to Death Wish. You're not wrong, but it's so funny.
But I mean, for you, when you were crafting this story, were you sort of consciously looking at other revenge thrillers, or were you kind of like consciously trying to stay away from them?
No, I think I remember in the workshop that I was doing, someone flagged Jodie Foster films. Jodie's my favorite actor, and she's sort of like the last of a certain generation of movie stars. I would say Tom Cruise is there now. Tom Cruise, Will Smith, where it's like, it's a single person and the movie's built around them, and they're the lone wolf and they're the star, and everything is geared towards supporting them. So she had a handful. I mean, Silence of the Lambs is even like that if you think about it.
Yeah.
But the one people brought up was the Brave one,
which is basically a remake of Death Wish. So
exactly. And I'll tell you, I saw the Brave one in Chicago at the Navy Pier, whatever, 21 multiplex, and it literally has a like no gun sign on the ticket booth, and it was opening night, and I'll tell you, the crowd erupted when she shot that guy after saying, "Give me back my fucking dog." It was like, even if it's wrong morally, it was like an amazing cinematic moment.
For you both as sort of actors and storytellers, how do you balance? I mean, on one end, what is obviously sort of a revenge, a little bit of fantasy, but still making something that has a social statement at the same time, rather than going sort of one way too far, one way or the other. Because I definitely found in this film, you rode the line sort of right in the middle very well.
I thought it would make me less angry, like if I got to express it, and it has not. I'm like angrier than ever because I'm also watching what's happening in the US and people's rights getting stripped away. Sorry, the motorcycle's back. This is for audio, right?
Yeah, but I can't hear it, so it's okay.
Okay, good. Okay. I'll stop talking. I have a podcast too. I know how it goes. Yeah, I just sort of I forget what I was talking about now. Lesley, answer.
Oh God. Oh yeah, talking about anger. I lost my thought. I was listening to you.
I'm so sorry. Yeah, so I was gonna say I thought like the US. So watching everything that's happening in the US and just feeling really like to see people's reproductive rights stripped back, and now seeing all this gun violence, which I know maybe is rich coming from me, someone who has a gun in a movie. But just sort of seeing the way things are going down there and knowing that it always comes up here, but later. I worry about that. I worry about the effects that America has on us.
I was also going to say too that in terms of like, will I be less angry after expressing this idea? I find the song you chose, Kinley's song that ends the film, it's like in the first verse, it's like the anger just goes in my chest every time I hear it. Great choice. But yeah, the anger does not go away.
Yeah.
No, and I mean, but again, it's one of those things where, and I mean, I think the film does it quite well. It's allowing an audience to sort of embrace the anger, but not necessarily be overtaken by it at the same time. Because, I mean, I'm with you. Like, I worry about sort of the effects of what we see going on in the South in the world generally. Yeah. Because it's a scary thing, and it makes you wonder. And it's one of those things where you want to sort of be angry, but you have to know how to focus it the right way. I mean, and sometimes it will be, hauling off and hitting somebody, but maybe not every day. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So stop doing that, Lesley. Stop it.
No, I mean, I'm curious for both of you because, I mean, obviously, like we've said, this is Canadian production, it's on a budget, all that kind of thing. But when this starts getting more out there in the universe, like, what do you hope sort of the audience pull away is? Because, I mean, while it's obviously focusing on sort of the relationship between the two women, it again, this is a story to me that feels very universal. Like, it's not just for gay women, it's for women.
For people.
For people, exactly, yeah. What do you hope audiences pull from it?
I don't necessarily know what I hope audiences pull from it, but I hope people go to see it. Honestly, just it's a very different film than a lot of what's offered out there for people who enjoy watching film, to see it, take it in. And I don't want to dictate what you should take from it, because I think it's very complicated, and I just hope people do respond, that they are not apathetic.
Yeah, I would love for people to just think, like, I don't think men are going to see this. Like, I really don't. Like, I thought that about Promising Young Woman too. And like, the people that needed to see this movie didn't see it. Because our targets in the film are these like hipster guys who present as allies in their public lives, but aren't in private. And I think a lot of those guys coast on gray areas and being like, whoa, I didn't know, or what are you talking about? So like, I want people to think more about consent. I want people to think just more about their behavior and the way it ripples out. And I want them to be a little bit scared, to be like, yo, there's like, things could turn and we could come get you. And I also just wanted to provide women survivors, whoever needs it, a triumphant moment at the end, even though, I don't want to give it away, but it's a crime, but to me, it's like a triumph too. And I wanted to give people like a moment like the one I talked about with Jodie Foster, where it's like,
no, it's a call to power for sure.
Yeah. And you know, Wally in the tub, as we call it, talks about it being a revolution. And so the idea is that, and the reason the movie stops where it does is because it's like, okay, we've started something here, and now we don't know how it goes.
No, and I mean, just to share a story, I was in a restaurant with a female friend, and I had some guy come up, talk to my friend, and give the exact same, do I know you from somewhere, some party or like church or something? And I was just like, motherfucker, go away.
Church parties.
It's like you pulled that from life, and I mean,
Yeah.
it just makes me furrow my brow every time I see that sort of bullshit go on. It's one of those things where, like, I hope men see this, because god damn it, men pull that crap all the time, and it's so fucking stupid.
Yeah.
No,
I would sorry, I was gonna say I would apologize to Jimmy, because those who played all the men, because the men were deliberately underwritten in this very generic way, because they're just like a guy.
Oh, well, that's the point. Yeah.
Yeah. So I always felt a little bit bad that he did an amazing job for having no face on screen and no name and no character history. He like invented 7 different guys and did an amazing job and making them all douchebags.
Yes, he's an amazing actor, and I 100% support not seeing any of their faces in this film, but I wish the world could see his face.
He's very handsome.
Yes. Very talented, very handsome, and very much not a douchebag in real life.
No, I mean, I'm curious just to start putting a bow on this, because I mean, this is a revenge film that says something. For both of you, can you think of maybe a revenge film that you enjoyed or could recommend that says something, that isn't just about the violence, that is actually making a kind of social point?
I think we're going to say the same one, but go ahead.
Yeah, Promising Young Woman. And I do remember that seeing the trailer for that just after getting cast in this and having a similar worry to Tara of like, oh God, is it going to be the same film? And then watching it and going, it's a great film, but it is a different story, different ending, says something different, but does say something.
Promising Young Woman for me too, it was such a conversation starter. It did not make people comfortable. And some people said, it's anti-feminist because she died. I'm like, I don't know if I agree with that. I thought it was such an interesting character study, which again is someone doing things that you don't like. Like her behavior in that movie is abhorrent. She's doing awful things to other women, side note. I thought that was such a great just depiction of the nuance and all the ways that it can go wrong too. And then she had all these people in her life telling her, stop it. Like, this is not worth it for you. But we didn't get to that part in Wally's life because we just met her at the beginning. But yeah, Promising Young Woman, I think it is fantastic. But again, I don't think the men who needed to see it saw it, because it had that brilliant casting trick of putting in all these known nice guys like Adam Brody and McLovin and Schmidt and all those guys. And I thought it was just like a twist of genius to be like, yeah, you're not going to worry about this guy at a bar. That's the guy that you have to worry about.
Well, no, and I mean, I think you're both right. I mean, obviously that is a genius film, but I mean, what that film does, and I mean, what I think your film does, it strips away sort of that idea of the quote unquote ally, which, so many people ride on, which is so fake and so disingenuous, when I mean, at the end of the day, it's about, treating each other like we're human beings. And, you don't do that, you don't do those sort of things to human beings, period, which is kind of the point at the end of the day.
Totally. And I think, the movie, for everyone who's sort of like, I don't know why she did what she did, it's like when she finds out this guy who like finally made her happy was there at the root of all of the things that have made her so unhappy, that was it. She was done. So, when she walked into that house, she was prepared to die.
Yeah.
What a movie.
Well, and you know what a movie that your movie is. I really loved it. I think you guys did a great job, and thank you so much for the time today, and congrats on being in the festival. And I can't wait for more audiences to see it and keep the conversation going and all sorts of fun stuff. But you guys did a great job. It's a really great piece of film work.
Thanks so much, David. Thanks for your time.
Of course. Bye.
And don't forget to visit our friends over at Bay Street Video for all your DVD, Blu-ray rental, or purchasing needs this summer, as they are still open for curbside and some mailing delivery as well. Over at 1172 Bay Street, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, you can give them a call at 416-964-9088. That's 416-964-9088. Or send them an email at baystreetvideoto@gmail.com for any of your DVD and Blu-ray needs.